Thanks, Noah. Today at the White House, President Trump defended his immigration crackdown, but conceded mistakes in Minneapolis, where federal agents have been involved in two fatal shootings that have sparked protests and scrutiny. Natalie Brand has more from the White House.
Incredible leaders and people.
Speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast Thursday, President Trump touted his administration's immigration enforcement policies.
We have the strongest border in the history of our country.
But in an interview Wednesday with NBC News, he acknowledged lessons have been learned in Minnesota after federal agents fatally shot Minneapolis residents Alex Preddy and Renee Good.
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals.
The president also said the two incidents should not have happened.
I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement.
President Trump said moving forward, he wants to be called into cities by local leaders.
We have 5 cities that we're looking at very strongly, but we want to be invited.
This morning, the president also reiterated his calls for voter ID as he's faced intense pushback for his earlier comments suggesting that elections should be nationalized in certain places.
There are some areas in our country that are extremely corrupt. They have very corrupt elections. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at Philadelphia. Take a look at Atlanta.
The president also defended his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, as she faces congressional scrutiny for her presence at last week's raid of a Georgia election center over 2020 records. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
The man convicted on 5 felony counts after trying to assassinate President Trump on a Florida golf course in 2024 has now been sentenced to life in prison. Prosecutors argued Ryan Routh should receive the maximum sentence, saying he never showed any regret or remorse for his actions. Routh's attorney argued for leniency, saying his client was a decent man. The sentence delivered by the judge on Wednesday included enhanced time in jail for federal terrorism charges.
I think the judge may have mistakenly applied the federal crime of terrorism enhancement, and that will be probably the leading issue on appeal.
Routh, who tried to kill himself with a pen after being convicted in September, asked the judge to be placed in federal prison within a state that allows for assisted suicide. Well, moments after Amber Waterman pleaded guilty to 2 counts of capital murder, Ashley Bush's family stepped out of the courtroom to speak with reporters. 5 News reporter Claire Everbach was there and brings us their reaction.
During the hearing, we heard several victim impact statements from Ashley's mother, grandmother, aunt, and cousin. Shortly after the hearing concluded, Ashley's mother and father spoke publicly about the case for the very first time. They made it clear that moving forward, they want to forget about Amber Waterman and focus on their daughter and their unborn grandchild. They shared memories of who Ashley was, her joy, her love for her family, and how her greatest goal in life was being a mom. They say supporting this plea was about choosing healing for all of Ashley's loved ones. Her father, Randy Boone, says the memories he has with his daughter is something that can never be taken away.
She brought us joy every time she came around. There's just so many things that I could say. She was really carefree. She grew up into a mom that was all about her kids, you know. Don't matter if they were making Christmas decorations or if they were getting ready to go trick-or-treating or cheese dip all over their faces, whatever it was, she took care of their needs.
Ashley's family says their priority moving forward is to spend time with one another and care for their grandchildren. Claire Everbach, 5 News.
Thank you, Claire. And capital murder suspect Casey Jennings must be represented by lawyers again, just months after a Washington County judge granted his request to represent himself. Jennings is accused of killing his girlfriend Allison Castro in 2022. A state psychiatrist found Jennings did not trust his state-appointed lawyers and thought he had no choice but to defend himself. Because of those statements, the judge ordered he was reappointed to counsel.
The process of getting an out-of-state subpoena is a lengthy one, and this is not a process that they were doing because they didn't represent Mr. Jennings, he represented himself.
The move pushed back this month's trial. That new date has been set for June 10th. Well, an Arkansas state senator says he is supporting a proposed study in efforts to prevent what happened along the Illinois River watershed from happening again. It comes 25 years after a lawsuit was filed against poultry companies for polluting the watershed. From what we know on the case, a federal judge ordered those companies to pay for cleanup and long-term oversight of the watershed. On Wednesday, State Senator Brian King of Green Forest brought a legislative committee meeting to Berryville to talk about keeping local rivers and streams healthy. He says a proposed $25 million interim study will look at gravel bar buildup, stream bank erosion, population growth, and impact of developments along rivers.
I hope that we can positively work together from diverse groups to try to be above board and transparent and try to work for different projects.
Senator King says he will take all the input he gathered back to Little Rock in hopes of getting the study approved sooner. An update on flu cases in the state. The Arkansas Department of Health says 37 people have died this flu season. Close to 1,000 have been hospitalized. Benton County ranks second in the state in hospitalizations. Washington County ranks fourth. According to the latest ADH report, the state saw an uptick in cases in the last week of January, moving the state's flu measure to high. The latest CDC report says there was an 18% increase nationally in cases at the end of the month. The Supreme Court clears the way for California to use its redrawn congressional maps. The White House argued one of the districts was redrawn based on race instead of politics. The court sided with the state of California with no noted dissents in the decision. The justices also upheld new maps in Texas that redrew the lines for 5 House seats. The University of Arkansas Fort Smith is about to get a big boost for health care. The school announced Senator John Bozeman secured $15 million in federal funding for a new center focused on maternal and infant care. The funding will support the first phase of a larger center with advanced simulation labs, classrooms, and training spaces. University leaders say the center will give students and healthcare professionals hands-on experiences managing childbirth complications and newborn emergencies in a safe environment. The project comes as Arkansas continues to face some of the highest maternal and infant mortality rates in the country.